So KK, really exciting to be chatting with you. Thank you so much for speaking to the Brazilian media. It's great to be in touch with you. We're very excited about the Sermons of the Sinner release that will happen. That happened on the 1st of October. Tell me a little bit about this project and how excited about it are you?
Yeah, it's tremendously exciting. Of course, obviously doing an album that was great to do. I thoroughly enjoyed doing the whole thing. You know, it was a great pleasure, the whole thing, you know, to do. But the main thing is it now gives us the springboard to be able to go around the world and play these songs and play some great concerts for everyone.
And about your new band, KK's Priest, everybody was really happy. I mean, all metal fans around the world, all rock and roll fans around the world were really happy to know that you're back with a new band. We're missing you. We have missed you. You stayed away for too long, but it's great to know that you're back. How was the process of putting this band together again, the new band?
Yeah, it was pretty automatic, really. You know, the first guys I called said yes, so that was good.
Anyone in the world that you call would say yes to you.
Yeah, Tim, do you want to do it? Yes. AJ, do you want to do it? Yes. So that was easy, you know. So.
And how's Les Binks doing?
Yeah, he was good. You know, I mean, Les wasn't able to spend 6 or 7 hours a day in the studio doing the drums. You know, I mean, you know, like I say, Les is good, but you know, you get to a certain point, he just suffered a wrist injury. He could play, but didn't want to just fatigue himself out so that he wouldn't be able to play, you know, because so he said that, you know, it was an endurance test, and obviously there's lots of high energy parts on the album. So we called in Sean, who'd been playing with Ripper in the Three Tremors band, and Sean's great, you know, so but Leslie's going to play with us live. Leslie's going to come and play some songs, you know. I mean, both myself and Les, I mean, we're 70 years old, you know, we can drink beer all night long, you know, we don't have a problem lifting the cans. But sometimes, you know, we have to take it a bit easy, you know. It's not so bad for me. I can twiddle my fingers, but with drums, it's everything, isn't it, you know. And so fully understand about that. So yeah.
Yeah, drummers suffer more than everyone. Since they start playing the instrument, they spend more money to buy their kit. They have to carry all those drums, and they have to get earlier to the venue to set them up and leave later than everyone. While everybody's hanging in the dressing room, they have to. It's not an easy life for the drummers.
I play guitar, and it's like wrists, and that's about it, really. But with drummers, it's toes, feet, ankles, knees, hips, elbows. It's, you know, it's a lot of moving parts, isn't it? You know.
How was it like for you to be back on stage at the Bloodstock Festival with Ross the Boss in 2019?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. The guys were wonderful, to be honest, you know, because we had very little rehearsals. They flew in the day before, you know, and the same when I did the gig at the Steel Mill with Dave Ellison and Ripper and Les Binks. I mean, the guys flew in the day before. It's always like that, isn't it? You know, we set these tasks for ourselves, but we made it through. But yeah, it was great to play the festival. You know, obviously I felt as though I belonged up there. You know, so it wasn't a problem. You know, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. The guys played out to their skin. It was great. You know.
And back to Sermons of the Sinner, I love the album. And how was the process of writing and producing it? And how the pandemic, did it have any impact on your schedule, or did it make it harder? Or did you do it before the pandemic started?
Yeah, well, we played the show in in Wolverhampton, in November. And so Christmas, that Christmas, a month later, I decided just to shut myself away, and use the time just to put an album together. And it happened, in all honesty, it happened really quickly, because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm going to do this, we need to write and record the album and deliver the album by spring if we're going to do some shows, that year. So it had to be done quickly. So the writing happened really quickly. That was good, because I found it quite easy to do. And we were on course to deliver the album by the end of April. And that's what was happening. But unfortunately, COVID, the lockdown happened. So the gigs got cancelled. We had some very good gigs lined up. And the same happened this year. We couldn't go out live. But I said to the record company, we've got to release the album, And then what happens is, like now, I'm so happy now, because after today, the album's out there. So now we can completely focus and put pressure on the agents and promoters to put some shows together for us. And we can concentrate on, relearning the songs, putting the set list together, getting some production together, and focus on live shows, so that when that happens, we're all good and ready to go.
Yeah, and do you already have plans for concerts or tours?
We've got opportunities, but it's all spread out at the moment. There's a couple of shows in Japan, there's some in Brazil, some offers, there's some in the Ukraine, Spain, Finland. But the thing is, they're all spread out. So we're trying to put them together so we can put a good road crew together, and we'd love to come to Brazil, but obviously we'd love to play Argentina, Peru and Chile, Venezuela if possible, Central America, so we need the promoters to come together and try to make it all happen for us.
Do you have any special memories from Brazil? I was very near the stage in Rock in Rio when you played one of the best shows I ever been to. It was a Painkiller tour, and it was 91, 30 years ago, amazingly. And what do you remember of that night, or being in Rio or being in Brazil?
Fortunately, I was there for three nights, 4 days and 3 nights, and it was great. I really had a really good time. The show was fantastic. Really enjoyed the whole thing. I met a nice Brazilian girl down there, spent some time with her. That was lovely. Got to hang out on the beach with some fans drinking beer, and what can I say? Went to some really nice restaurants. The hotel was great, except at the night time, people were chanting "priest, priest, priest," so it was hard to get to sleep. And then some other fans were chanting "aha, ha ha" or something like that. I'm thinking,
I bet the Priest fans were louder. I bet they were.
But if the Priest fans stop, then people go "aha, ha ha," and I'm thinking, oh no, and then the Priest fans will go, "No, priest, priest." So that, it was great. We had a fantastic time, and obviously, we've been back since and played some great shows, and it's always a pleasure.
And what have you been doing since you left Priest on this hiatus? After you left Priest and before Bloodstock Festival? Yeah,
but like I say, I just want to clear up the fact that we were all leaving Priest. We were all going to retire. 2010. I have all of the press releases, all of the emails. I was being asked, what are we going to call the farewell tour, the epitaph tour? That's what we were all going to do. But I decided I didn't want to do the farewell tour because I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. So I sat out of that. But we were all going to end the band. That was what we agreed on. But they changed their mind and carried on. That was the only difference. And that was all news to me. I didn't realize I was leaving the band. That was not the deal. It was just that I wasn't going to do the farewell tour because I didn't want to end my career doing a tour that I really didn't think I was going to enjoy, you know, because in 2010, Rob went on tour with his band playing Priest songs, and he released 2 studio albums, and my head wasn't in a good space with the guys in the band at that time, you know. And I was being pressured to write an EP. They wanted me to write and record an EP to support the farewell tour when Rob released 2 studio albums. So there's a big story to tell. It's not exactly what they said. Oh, KK's retired to look after his golf course. That was a cop-out. That's the easy story. You know, that's misinformation. So, but without getting too involved with that, you know, like I say, I'm happy to talk about, you know, the new album. It's out tomorrow. I know lots of fans have got their copies. I've seen them. They've been on Instagram and stuff like that. They're really excited. The vinyls have come through, you know. So I'm hoping the distributors are pushing it out there, and everybody gets their copy nice and safely. And so it's really exciting because for me, I want to put that. I'm already writing stuff for the new album that's looking and sounding great for the next record, you know. So until we can get out on tour, there's new material coming, and it does sound really, really good. So I'm excited about that. So already I'm moving on, you know, to get my head around rehearsing, putting set lists together, production for live shows, and in between that, continue to put new music together, and hopefully we can release that record next year.
Fantastic.
So KK's Priest is going to release 2 albums in 1 year.
That's so good to hear, KK, and I see that you're excited, and I'm happy that you feel that way. So you played such an important part in creating a new music genre. You're one of, you know, the most important creators of heavy metal. If you could have a chat with that kid in West Bromwich today, what would you tell him? Did you ever imagine you could become such an inspiration and a role model for so many kids around the world?
No, it's like a miracle, really. You know, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I wanted to give so much inspiration to, if possible, you know, and encouragement to people that are suffering, you know, at a young age like I was. But, you know, I found music and I found a way forward, and it just seems like a miracle that somebody like me can not only be a witness, but be a part of the whole thing. You know, I never thought it would happen ever. You know, I'm there watching Jimi Hendrix, and I'm watching the Cream, and you know, and all of these great artists. But for me to be able to play a part and be a part of it, the evolution of metal as we know it today, because it didn't exist in the 60s. When I first started with Alan Atkins and Ian, you know, back in the late 60s, they didn't know what type of music we were playing, so they called us a progressive blues band because rock wasn't even there. We had rock and roll, but not rock. We didn't have hard rock. We didn't have heavy rock. We certainly didn't have heavy metal. But this was the journey that I became, you know, that I was on, and you know. The leather, the studs, the flying V, the twin guitar attack, and all of the songs, you know, that I was a part of, you know. Like I say, for so many people, it is easy to roll the wheel, but it's very not easy to invent the wheel. But what can I say? You know, I'm very, very proud of everything that I've done and been a part of. I'm so proud of the fans, and I'm so grateful to all of to everyone for the loyalty, not just to me and the band, but to all of the great bands that are a part of this great music that we know and love so much, you know.
And who are your music heroes that you still feel as a fan?
Like I say, in the 60s, it all started out with the Kinks and the Trogs and, you know, the Pretty Things and, you know, but only little bits. And then it was early Rolling Stones, you know, but then obviously when Cream appeared and I found out about John Mayall's Blues Breakers and Jimi Hendrix, you know, that was all wonderful. And then all the great bands, progressive blues bands like Fleetwood Mac, Free, Taste, Bloodwind Pig, Jethro Tull, 10 years after. The list went on and on and on, so many great bands. And then we moved into the 70s, and then I find the Scorpions and UFO, and obviously Judas Priest were around. You know, and of course Black Sabbath appeared, and how wonderful that was, you know. And, you know, and the journey was well on its way by then, and then obviously we move into the 80s, and we've got the great bands, Docker and Van Halen, great bands that were appearing every week, and great new guitar players, you know. And then we had, then started to appear obviously the mighty Metallica, you know, and Megadeth and Testament and these bands. And then you move into the 90s and you got Pantera, the mighty Pantera, and then you got the mighty, the metal was moving on, you know. So it was great to be a part of all of this, you know. It was so great when the new bands started to appear, and the new bands were great, you know. When Machine Head, their first album, which was great, and Pantera arrived, I'm thinking, this is great, it's powerful. And of course, all of these guys are big fans of Judas Priest, and, you know, and drew their inspiration from classic metal, which was fantastic. So this evolution carried on, and it moved on, and then you got alternative metal bands, obviously Dimmu Borgir. Now we've got Sabaton, we've got Ghost, we've got Slipknot, you know, they're all doing their thing, you know. So it's still good, but obviously KK's Priest has stepped back a little bit in time just to consolidate. Hey, you know, this is not said and done. There's still a lot. If you think that you can't write these classic and true metal songs, well, we just did. So you can do it too, you know.
It's fantastic, and it must be such a privilege, and you must feel real proud of having inspired every single name that you mentioned on that huge list. After, of course, you guys started, you became such an important model for all these artists, and I suppose that they all see you and they go, you know, like. Praising the work you've done through so many years. It's great. So I guess if I'd have been the only person and had total control over Judas Priest, I would be doing things like this, you know. That's the only way I could think of it, really, because, you know, it's different now, but it's the same. You know, I do things the way that I do it, and it's too late to change at my age. You know, I'm not going to change my guitar sound. Don't change, please.
The way I do anything, there's just going to be lots more of this, you know.
That's what we like.
It's already there. There's going to be lots more of this. I'm not going to make individual albums. It's just going to be the continuation.
Perfect.
Sermons of the Sinner the story will evolve, you know, for as long as I can possibly make it. It's just going to keep coming at you, you know.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for your music. Thank you so much for being, you know, such a humble man and so nice, you know, answering all the questions and for the music and for keeping up and releasing new stuff. We need that to keep inspiring new kids to go in the garage and start playing an instrument and forming other bands. So Sermons of the Sinner out on 1st of October. KK's Priest, KK Downey. Huge thank you, man. Huge thank you for all your career. We are blessed to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Nando, and thank all of the fans for me for being so patient, so loyal, and I look forward to seeing you as soon as we possibly can in your town.
We'll have a beer together, hopefully, as soon as you land in São Paulo.
Bring on the Brahma.
KK Priest on the Wikimetal Happy Hour. Legendary guitarist of KK Priest, the new band of KK Downing. Sermons of the Sinner out everywhere, 1st of October, 2021. Thank you, KK. You're the man.
Thank you, Nando. We've seen you in the dressing room. Cold beers all around.
Cheers.